2 years ago, I started hybrid training, combining both intense hypertrophy focused strength training with intense cardiovascular activity. I started running and last year I ran my first marathon. However, I trained for it maintaining my strength based gym sessions. Knowing I have some experience in the field, I would like to share with you guys what I've learned from my biggest mistakes and how you should avoid them. So, here are the biggest and most common mistakes beginners in hybrid training do. I see many people jumping into hybrid training too fast. They have no beginning point and just jump in. And this leads to doing too much too quickly, which brings to injury. Maybe you went from 5 gym sessions per week to 5 gym sessions and 2 running sessions without having any prior physical conditioning to do so. Hybrid beginners just add more workouts to what they're already doing, which is the worst way of training. So when I first started hybrid training 2 years ago, I was in the swimming pool 8 times a week and in the gym 5 times a week. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but this could have easily led me to an injury, which actually happens to most beginners who start hybrid training with no prior knowledge. So you really should not combine another training program on top of what you're already doing, especially if you're not used to it, because otherwise you'll just get injured easily. Another common error I often see is combining 100% of a lifting program with 100% of a running program, just stacking one on top of the other. And this is exactly the reason why people say they feel excessively burned out or tired after a couple of weeks of hybrid training. Now, this is very inefficient and very dangerous. So you should focus on building a realistic and sustainable training schedule. Otherwise, you will never reach your goals and just feel tired. And my advice regarding this point is just experiment and find out what the best way of training for you is. Many people do an AM PM workout split, so training, running sessions in the morning and lifting in the evening. But doing this constantly day over day, if you're not used to it, could be quite dangerous for your joints and your articulations. Point number 3, which I think is the most important, is undereating. Now, when I was going to the gym and lifting, I was eating a lot, but definitely not enough to meet my caloric expenditure. Now, many people, when they go from just training to the gym to training to the gym and running, swimming, or biking, they forget to increase their calorie intake to match their calorie expenditure. So they probably find themselves losing weight because they're burning way more calories than they're eating. And this is extremely important because training so much without having a proper caloric intake can be quite dangerous. You'll just lose weight and probably strength. So be very careful and eat a lot because you will really need it for recovery, sleep, and better performance. Now, number 4, not having a specific goal. This is really important. Some people start training as hybrid athletes for the sake of doing it, just because they like it, which absolutely it's okay. But having a specific goal to reach and aligning your training to your goal would be much better. So you should avoid randomly lifting and running and then signing up for a marathon. Instead, what you should do is first sign up to a race you find interesting and then organize your training schedule according to that goal. Another really common mistake I see is thinking that more is always better. So people just focus on having these crazy training volumes, but actually it's really pointless. You should aim to making sustainable and consistent progress rather than overtraining every day because you have to combine 100% of running program with 100% of a lifting program. As I've already said, this won't lead you anywhere. It will only cause injuries and being excessively tired. So make sure to have a balanced training schedule that is sustainable on the long term rather than pushing super hard randomly on every training session with no method. Another common mistake I see is people focusing on perfection rather than practicality. They spend hours online or maybe even reading books on what the best training method is in order to achieve their goals. They get really scientific and deep into research, but this actually doesn't bring any progress. People really spend a lot of their energies and time trying to create the best science-based training program. But bro, just train. Now, I agree, your training program should have some scientific basis and should be aligned with your goal, of course. But probably you're just overthinking. So get a simple workout split that you can stick to on the long term and train, repeat constantly. And this will inevitably bring to progress if you sleep well, if you eat properly without undereating, if you stretch and do mobility workouts. This will for sure improve your physical performance and your physical looks. The last tip I want to give you guys is that you've probably gotten into hybrid training thanks to athletes like Nick Bear or huge people you see achieving these incredible feats in different areas of sport. But the reality is, by training like a hybrid athlete, you won't get huge. All these people you see online come from bodybuilding backgrounds. So they've built muscle in the past and are now just maintaining it while implementing cardiovascular activity. So don't think that by running 3 times a week and lifting 4 times a week, like I do, you'll get huge, because it doesn't work like that. If you want to get huge and muscular, just bodybuild. There's no point in implementing running, swimming, or biking sessions. Now, it has huge benefits, but it won't make you bigger. So forget that. You've learned what the biggest mistakes are and why and how you should avoid them. But I still believe hybrid training is a great way to work out. Probably, for me at least, it's the best one. However, remember, you have to be ready for it. You can't just jump into it a day from another. So my last tip, if you've arrived to this point of this video, is that you should try it out for yourself. Experiment with different training methods, swimming, running, biking, and try different percentages in your training workout. So maybe 60% gym and 40% running. And then try to define what the best training method is for you and stick to it as long as possible. So guys, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and see you in the next video.